Good morning students. In today's video I'll explain you the rest part of the chapter The Midnight Visitor. In previous video I had explained you the first part. I told you about the Osable, how was he looking and why did Fowler went to his room and what did he find there. And when they were in the room, then one another spy entered to his room. When Max entered to Osable room, Osable started arguing that this time he will definitely fight with management about the balcony. So what happened afterwards we'll read in this video. We'll read in this part of the video. It's not my balcony, Osable said with extreme irritation. Then Osable was annoyed and he said with the extreme irritation that it was not his balcony. It belongs to the next apartment. That balcony belonged to next apartment. He glanced explanatorily at Flower and he looked at Flower and he was trying to explain him. You see, he said, this room used to be a part of a large unit. He explained to Fowler that this room was used to be a part of large unit. And the next room through that door there used to be the living room. And the next room through that door, that was the living room. It had the balcony and balcony belonged to that room, which extends under my window now. And that balcony extends till to his window then. You can get into it from the empty room 2 doors down, and anybody can reach onto that balcony from 2 doors down. And somebody did last month, and somebody said, then again he said, then somebody last month reached onto that balcony and then he entered to his room. The management promised to block it off, but they haven't. And the management promised to block that door, but they didn't. Max glanced at Fowler, who was standing stiffly not far from Osable. So Max looked at Fowler, who was standing next to the Osable, and waved the gun with a commanding gesture. And the Max put the gun in commanding gestures towards the Osable and Fowler. Commanding gesture means in a position that he could say he could shoot anytime. Please sit down, he said. We have a wait of half an hour, I think. And he ordered them to sit down, that they had to wait for half an hour. 31 minutes, Osable said moodily. Osable replied his answer and said 31 minutes. The appointment was for 12:30. I wish I knew how you learn about the report. And then he said the appointment was for 12:30. The appointment for the report reached at Osable. And he again said he don't know how did he know about the report. The little spy smiled evilly. The little spy, the Max, smiled in a dangerously, and we wish we know how your people got the report. And he said, we thought that how your people will got the report. But no harm has been done. I will get it back tonight. Then he said, still it's not any harm. They would get the report. He would get the report that night. What is that? Who is at the door? Then somebody was knocking at the door. Then Max asked, who was at the door? Fowler jumped at the sudden knocking at the door. Osable just smiled. While listening the knocking at the door, the Fowler became also startled. He will become also shocked. Osable just gave a simple smile. That will be the police, he said. And what did the Osable say? That would be the police. I thought that such an important paper as one we are waiting for should have a little extra protection. Then he extended his words. He said, at night they were receiving a very important paper and those paper required the extra protection. So he had called the police. I told them to check on me to make sure everything was all right. Then he said he told the police to check on him so that everything, all the matters was right. Max bit his lips nervously. The knocking was repeated. Max was startled, he was shocked, and he bit his lips in a nervous. The knocking was repeated. That the knocking at the door was repeating. What will you do now, Max? Oswald asked. Then Oswald asked to Max what would he do now? If I do not answer the door, they will enter anyway. Then he said Oswald said to uh, Max. Then if I would not open the door, they would directly enter in the room. The door is unlocked and they will not hesitate to shoot. And if the door was unlocked, they would not hesitate to shoot to Max. Max's face was black with anger as he backed swiftly towards the window. Max's face turned to black due to anger, and he backed swiftly. He swiftly moves towards the window. He swung a leg over the sill. Sill means the lower part of the window. And he swung his leg over the sill, sent them away, and he ordered the Oswald while going back towards the window. He said, "Send the police away." He warned. He gave the warning to Oswald. "I will wait on the balcony." And he said to Oswald, "You said to police to move away until the time he would wait at balcony. Send them away or I'll shoot and take my chance." And again he warned. He said, send them away, otherwise he would shoot them. The knocking at the door became louder and the voice was raised, "Mr. Oswald, Mr. Oswald." So the knocking at the door was become louder than louder and the voice was raised, "Mr. Oswald." And the person who was at the door was shouting, "Mr. Oswald, Mr. Oswald." Keeping his body twisted so that his gun still covered the fat man and his guest. He turned his body towards the window and he was trying to get down on the window, and he kept his body in such a way so that he can cover the fat man, the Oswald, and his guest Fowler with his gun. The man at the window grabs the frame with his free hand to support himself, and while stepping into the balcony, he grabs the frame off with his free hand. In one hand pistol was there, in other hand he grabs the frame of the window to give him support. Then he swung his other leg up and over the window sill. Then afterwards he put his other leg over the window sill. The doorknob turned. Swiftly, Max pushed with his left hand to free himself from the sill and dropped to the balcony. The doorknob turned. The door opened. Quickly, Max pushed his left hand to free himself, and he left the left hand and he just jumped onto the balcony. He dropped towards the balcony. And then as he dropped, he screamed once shrilly. And the moment he dropped onto the balcony, he screamed once. There was a screaming sound, shrilly. Shrilly means in a high pitch. The door opened and a waiter stood there with a tray, a bottle, and 2 glasses. So when the door opened, there was a man, a waiter, with a tray and a bottle along with 2 glasses. "Here is the drink you ordered for when you return." So the waiter said to Oswald, here is a drink which he had ordered when he was returning to the room. He said and set the tray on the table, deftly uncorked the bottle and left the room. And he said to Oswald, then afterward he put the tray on the table, and very skillfully and very in a clever way he opened the uncorked means opened the bottle and left the room. White-faced Fowler stared after him, but he stammered, "The police." White face, the Fowler became confused, and he looked at the Ossible, but he stammered in a murmuring sound. He said, "Police." There were no police. Ossible sighed. Ossible said, "There was no any police. Only Harry, whom I was expecting. Only Henry." Henry was a waiter, whose to whom he was expecting. "But won't that man out of the balcony?" Fowler began. "No," said Ossible. "He won't return. You see, my young friend, there is no balcony." Then again the Fowler asked, "So the man, Max, who jumped onto the balcony, would return again?" Then the Ossible said to Fowler, no, my friend, he wouldn't return because there was no any balcony. He made a false story of balcony." So, student, this was the story about the detective Ossible. And what did we find in the story? That Ossible was not good. He was not looking good. His appearance was not good. He was a fat man, but he was a quick-witted. And he calmly and wisely tackled the situation by using his presence of mind to get out from danger. He made up a false story of balcony and made other spy jump to death.